Daily Wire. They say, here's a term sheet. You go, whoa, this is crazy. Right. Hey, you can't do this. The Daily Wire then says, all of a sudden, not also, but a few months later, Crowder registers Stop Big Con. Then he calls and secretly records Jeremy. He was setting us up. This email right here paints a different picture in that you talked with the Daily Wire and said, here's our issue. Here's what we can't do. And they said, okay. And then sometime later, they try poaching.
No, they said, if that's the issue, this is our business model, and you don't know business.
But then they try and poach.
Well, now that we've got the Crowder rebuttal, I think it's time to fully explore this and give some final thoughts on this situation. So make sure you guys stick around for the full video, and we're going to go ahead and talk about this. Now, guys, this video right here is going to be structured in, I guess you could say, 5 columns. I'm going to give you guys some initial thoughts and why it is I think the way I do on this situation. Number 2, we're going to talk a little bit about the Daily Wire's response post Jeremy Boring. Number 3, we're going to talk a little bit about the contract because we haven't really discussed the contract. And there's also going to be a few videos that are going to be left in the description box. This video right here, one, of course, is going to be from Chen. The other one's going to be from Rakieta Law to kind of help break down the whole ordeal with the contract and why it is that people think that the Daily Wire is shady as hell. That right there is really going to be part 4 because we got to kind of go back in time. And I'm going to give you guys some final thoughts, not just on this situation, but a situation involving other YouTube content creators that are suddenly finding themselves being unsubscribed from over this. Me personally, I haven't really experienced that, but at the same time, I think we need to have an actual honest-to-God discussion about that. That right there will come towards the end of the video. So make sure you guys stick around. It's going to be a relatively long, relatively lengthy video, but make sure you guys stick around. Now, guys, when Crowder released that video the other day, the first video, I kind of sort of already had a feeling that it was the Daily Wire that he was talking about. The main reason why I felt that way is because the Blaze, who, by the way, Crowder worked for before, has not really taken any type of side in the whole Trump, DeSantis, Trump establishment, America First. They haven't really done any of that. Glenn Beck hasn't, at least from what I can see. If you've seen something else, just please leave in the comment section. I haven't really seen where anything has been because at the end of the day, I think that is what the hell this right here really and truly boils down to is politics. And this right here is partly, we'll be discussing this here more in parts 3 and 4, but many people were already a little bit, how do I say, standoffish when it comes to the Daily Wire. Now, my personal feelings, as I've told you guys before, the only person that I have an issue with at the Daily Wire is Shapiro, and I'm not going to be playing any clips for you guys. Instead, I'm going to be leaving it in the description box because, believe it or not, a lot of his response to this was actually quite funny, quite hilarious. If you actually watch it, his body language and all kinds of stuff. Just watching a guy with a very squeaky voice try to get angry and try to hulk himself up is just really hilarious to see, in my opinion. I laugh at absurd crap. That's that is my sense of humor, absurdities. So the thing is this right here. Many people were already kind of sort of suspecting that it was the Daily Wire. Crowder had even put out a tweet, I think a week and a half ago, saying that he was tired of staying silent. And this, of course, was right after the Christmas special that he did. This was also right after he announced the deal with Mug Club and how Mug Club was basically, for the most part, it was basically going on hiatus. I mean, he basically was talking about that there. So a lot of us kind of sort of had an idea that it was more than likely the Daily Wire. Now, the Daily Wire, and I'm even going to tell you right here in a second what I think the Daily Wire should have done versus what the hell they did. They come out the next day. Jeremy Boring gives a response. Jeremy Boring's response, I actually thought was pretty good. Like I said before, I am not so anti-Daily Wire that I can't give someone props. As I've said before, I actually like most of the people at the Daily Wire. I just don't really care for Shapiro. There are other reasons why. Now, guys, really quick, I got to say this before we go any further. You can agree with somebody on 95 to 100% of the issues and still not like them. I just want to go ahead and throw that out there. As I said before, I actually like Jordan Peterson, even though I don't agree with him on everything. I probably agree with him on maybe 75% of stuff, okay? But I like the person. I like the individual. He's actually funny as hell, too, when he gets mad. I mean, he actually is. Just go look up Jordan Peterson rants. They're absolutely hilarious, okay? Michael Knowles, I like Michael Knowles. I like Andrew Clavin, okay? The only person that I really and truly don't like at the Daily Wire is Ben Shapiro. Matt Walsh, I've kind of got mixed feelings on, but I've kind of left it like, hey, look, he could kind of win me over. It's just I have a hard time getting past the fact that you voted for Evan frickin' McMuffin in 2016. Come on, dude. But the thing is this right here. I looked at this entire situation like this right here. The Daily Wire may have screwed up from the very start. You see, this entire thing would not be that big of a can of worms if the Daily Wire had responded this way here as I'm about to say this. Now, the thing you have to understand, And the reason why I think that Crowder, and by the way, I'm not condoning Crowder recording Jeremy Boring and releasing that phone call. I'm not doing that at all, even though he's sort of won some people over for this. I was already on his side, and I'm kind of like, Stephen, that was a very, very bad idea. The reason why I think he really did it was not so much the fact that the Daily Wire outed themselves. I think it's the fact that towards the end of the speech, Jeremy Boring went out of his way to remind people that Steven Crowder was an amazing talent, but yet he had never actually ran a business. Crowder, it is true, has worked mostly for the Blaze. However, it's not like he's sitting there in a Blaze facility. From what I understand, the facility that Crowder actually operates out of is right outside of his house. He's got like 30 employees there. It was revealed in another video, which, by the way, will be in the description box, which is also part of the reference for this video here from Lauren Chen, that Steven Crowder has actually got family working in there with him. He's got Gerald A. He's got Quarter Black Garrett. He's got all these people who are actually inside the building with him that I'm pretty sure he kind of sort of has to take charge over. Now, Crowder can be a bit of a perfectionist from what I understand, but the fact of the matter is that Crowder is basically running a small business mom and pop shop. It just so happens to be that he's running that business under somebody else. I think that right there, mixed in with Ben Shapiro's comments earlier in the day, mixed with the tweets from earlier in the day, and of course mixed in with Candace Owens' pot shots, I think that right there is what really and truly gave Steven the motivation to come out and the incentive to come out and say, hey, look, dude, this right here is not cool. I'm just going to go ahead and release this. Of course, he said that they outed themselves, when in reality what the Daily Wire probably should have done was this here. They probably should have came out and either A, said nothing, or B, they should have came out and they should have said, look, it is true. We offered Steven Crowder a contract. Don't disclose the full details of the contract. Just say, look, man, there were some provisions of this contract, which, by the way, we'll talk about here in this video here, that Steven obviously did not like. He didn't like the business model that we had. We couldn't agree on this. And you know what? We think very, very highly of Steven. We want Steven to be successful. Obviously, this contract's not going to work out. Maybe it can work out somewhere down the road, and maybe we can do something, okay? We wish him well, but hey, it just didn't work out. Okay, no harm, no foul. More than likely, Steven probably would not have released anything. And what you could have done is you could have got on the phone. You should say, hey, look, hey, Matt, Michael, Clavin, Ben, Jordan, this thing right here could go bad for us. Steven's not exactly a dumbass. Why don't we do this right here? Why don't we just not mention it? And when we are asked about it in the comment section, you guys basically say the exact same thing I did. Don't go personal. Don't bring up anything. Just say, look, we offered him a contract. He didn't like the provisions. It didn't work out. We wish him the best. Let's go ahead and get back to the news. But, of course, the Daily Wire did not do that. Okay, so let's talk about the first person, Candace Owens. Now, guys, and yeah, this is taking me a second to say because I'm obviously doing this right here because I want this video here to be as raw as possible so that way you guys can kind of see how I really feel about this. Candace Owens is a very, very smart girl, very, very bright, obviously young talent, but of course it kind of reminds me when something like this occurs that she does actually have a social justice warrior past. Now, guys, I'm going to run these two separate clips. One of those from her podcast, and then the other one, of course, is from her actual show. And I know somebody's talking about, well, what about the freaking, what about that thing that was discovered about Steven creating that website? Well, don't worry, we will get to that here shortly. But I want you to run this first, one from her podcast, and then one from the Timcast, and we'll come right back to it.
On Michael Knowles, he threw mud on every single person, Brett Cooper, that works for Daily Wire by implying that we are signing these contracts and he is heroic for not signing it and pulling out excerpts of the contract to say basically we're beholden to big tech, right? And I don't like that. If you want to rev up your engine and fire up your big truck, don't get mud on my car, right? That's my thing. If you want to go to war, keep me out of it. At least say this was a contract that was offered to me. He kind of makes this plea. And again, people were just on board with it. But I will also be honest that I was a bit disturbed. Like I said, heavy accusations that this is how the contracts are being handled. Get back and forth. And they were going to make up for his loss. So people that are upset by his video, the millions of people who watched it, are now going to give him $1, whatever it costs to be in the mug club, and they're going to become the $120 million that he feels that he deserves. First of all, I'm just going to say this, unrelatable. Unrelatable. People are trying to pay for bacon and eggs right now at the grocery store, trying to buy a steak once a week, and you're over here crying because somebody couldn't meet you at $120 million. And it is crying. I don't like it. It was a total bitch move. There are plenty of things that happen across all organizations in the conservative movement where I will say that I empathize with Steven Crowder and saying that sometimes you feel like a cynic, which is like, is everybody selling out? Are people doing this, people doing that? There are a lot of things that Daily Wire has done that I disagree with. There's a lot of things that Turning Point has done that I disagree with. There are things perhaps that PragerU has done that I disagree with. I have worked with all of these companies, right? But to do a total bitch has to take it. So I don't like it. It stinks to high heaven. And I'm calling you out on that because I think it was crappy that you threw mud on me. Did it the first time via a tweet a long time ago. You're not doing it a second time.
Laugh. He's the person in a disguise. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? He's like, I'm here because I care about all of you. That's why I'm recording my friend and doing this crappy thing where I literally could have just said, no, I don't like those terms, and then said to everybody, I'm starting my own outfit. Fair. You walk away all the time. You have I have walked away. I had an offer from the Blaze. It didn't work for me. You know what I mean? I don't need to piece apart the contract. I love those guys. I think Tyler is amazing. This is what I'm saying. People need to stop thinking that he is some knight in shining armor. He's not. He's not a knight in shining armor. And if you can't see that, watch this video because I think his acting is never more apparent. Even the titles. I didn't want to do this. Oh, really? Then why the hell did you record him? What were you doing that for? Did you think you were going to go to court?
Fair point.
Or did you think you were going to go to court? Because that's the only reason you record someone. You'd be like, I don't trust my ex-fucking wife. Pardon my language, okay? I don't trust my ex-wife, so I'm going to record this phone call for safety, right? You record it because you're nervous that there's going to be a court hearing or the police are going to find out and you've got to back up what you said, okay? Why are you recording your friend? If not because you think it's going to go to court. Oh, because you think it's going to go to public and you're doing it intentionally because you know you're about to start a war. People, please use your common sense. It's not even because I work for Daily Wire. It is because he personally he's lying and he insulted me and during his lying campaign, he's still lying. He even said something in this video where he's like, now they're sending out their... No. If you're going to aim and you're going to hit somebody with shrapnel and it's going to be me, you better aim correctly because I don't like shit like this, okay? I have been quiet. I know Steven Crowder treats people like absolute trash. It's a known thing in the conservative movement. Ask anybody that works at the Blaze. Any person who's ever had a show on the Blaze, how Steven Crowder treats people. By the way, you want to talk about contract negotiations? Why doesn't somebody reach out to Not Gay Jared? Right, who used to be with Steven Crowder and figure out why he can't speak. Why doesn't Steven Crowder release Not Gay Jared from his NDA? I don't like shit like this. Is all I'm saying.
Gang, on the podcast, she was already primed to go out there. Okay, she was already primed to go out there and go after him. She was already the attack dog. Now, on Timcast IRL, and I said this in the second video, and this was the buzz all over Twitter, is that Candace's the reaction to Candace on Timcast IRL was really and truly quite negative. A lot of people thought she had lost her freaking mind. We'll be discussing it a little bit more because when I bring up the Rakieta law section, that right there was heavily discussed. But I'm going to go ahead and kind of tease you now a little bit with that because I think I know the real reason why Candace was so upset that night.
Candace, I'm talking to you. The thing you should be most mad about is that Daily Wire lowballed you and you didn't even know. You probably thought that you played it real big with your attorney. Oh yeah, we negotiated out those bad terms. We did this, we did that. And you're realizing in real time right now that you got played by Daily Wire. You got played. And you didn't know it because the next words out of your mouth were they discovered me when I was a young talent on YouTube. Crowder was advocating for your failure. He was trying to protect the next Candace Owens, and you're too fucking dumb to realize it.
We'll talk a little bit later on to see if Steven was, in fact, actually going out of his way to protect Candace. I'm not saying that he was, but Steven, of course, would go out there on the Timcast IRL, and one of the first things he would say is that I understand why Candace is upset. But I want you guys to think about something really quick. You see, in the previous video, I said this on multiple occasions. I think I said 2 or 3 times, and I'll probably say it a couple more times this video here. The minute you go personal is the minute that you lose. Now, here's the deal. You guys saw what Candace said in her podcast. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys know what the hell Ben said. I don't recall Steven Crowder at any point in time name dropping Michael Knowles. I don't recall him name dropping Matt Walsh. And the only three people I can think of that he mentioned was Ben Shapiro, who, by the way, he went on there the other night and said the exact same thing. Ben Shapiro is the smartest guy in the world, smartest person I know. Andrew Klavan, yada, 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 and Jordan friggin' Peterson. Do I need to re-roll the clip?
Personal things I will say about the people at Daily Wire. Andrew Klavan is one of my favorite people of all time. He has an unbelievable skill to make you feel like the smartest guy in the room, even though I guarantee you he's smarter than you. There are very few people whose company I enjoy more than Andrew Klavan. Jordan Peterson is not only a friend, I would go to the wall for him. He's a guy who has changed the landscape of our country for the better. Can't say enough good things about him. Ben Shapiro is possibly the smartest person I know. That's as personal as I'll get. Now, here's the thing. Only after that final call, after negotiations had followed through, pleading on the side of principle and knowing that it was completely met with deaf ears, did I come out like I did? See, here's the thing. They keep talking about a business. Well, I walked away from the table because I'm talking like it's about a country, about a movement. And this is the thing. The response that I've heard over the years is not just now. I've been doing this for a long time. You constantly hear, it's just business. It's just business. Well, guess what?
Now, gang, my thinking was this entire time that what Stephen would do was after all this stuff right here came out, Stephen would try to take the high road. And don't worry, we'll bring up Mark Dice here in a second too. Like I said, this is a very, very raw video. I wanted this video right here to be raw. I didn't script it for a reason. The fact is this right here. Like I said before, the minute you go personal is the minute you lose. Now, we're going to talk about Ben really quick. Now, Ben, in my honest opinion, I've always had issues with Ben, okay? A lot of it's because the further and further and further you look into it, the further and further and further you're actually somewhat disgusted. We'll take that issue there. I can't actually say the actual word. Only someone like, say, Jason Whitlock or a bigger content creator can actually say that and not get a friggin' strike or anything that blocks their channel. But I'm just going to put this right up here. Ben was not just okay with that, but he was also okay with the mandate. Now, I've already made my feelings known on this right here. If you want to take it, go right ahead and take it, okay? It is your choice. Do I like the fact that the government wants to mandate? Yeah, the chair squeak. Do I like the idea that the government tried to mandate it? No. But when they said they were signing executive orders, I already knew that they weren't going to be able to mandate it because it's an executive friggin' order, not the law of the damn land. Do I like the fact that the previous guy, the guy I voted for twice, the guy I'll probably vote for a third time, I'd prefer being in office for the next term? Do I like the idea that he promotes it? Hell no, I don't like it. I wish he'd stop friggin' promoting it right now. If anything, what I'd hope he would say is, look, man, maybe we need to halt the production of this entire thing and try to find out what the hell is going on. I think if you did that right there, it would be a little bit more respectable. I wish you would friggin' do that. But obviously at this point in time, we're probably not going to get that at this moment in time. The further and further and further you look into it, like I did, the more and more and more you're like, dude, this guy right here just flat out stinks to high heaven. Now, here's the thing that I do want to mention. Like I said, I'll leave Shapiro's response in the description box or the comment section, either one, as much as I can fit in there. I'll leave it in there. Let me say this. Ben doesn't intimidate anybody. Ben Shapiro does not intimidate anybody. He just doesn't. I mean, he's sitting there the whole time. His body language, he's hulking. His shoulders are shaking. There was this one moment in there where he goes, I've been to bat for Stephen on several occasions. I mean, I have literally been to bat for Stephen on multiple occasions. I mean, like, every time he gets a strike, we'll bring up strikes in a second. Last time I got a strike from Susan Wojcicki, I called it, and I just chewed her out. I chewed her out. Gang, let me ask you a question. You know Ben Shapiro. You know his voice. Are you intimidated by that actual voice, seriously? I mean, seriously, I mean, Body
like that! The teeny weeny arms and the skinny weeny legs and that so turkey looking neck.
He's like 5'2". His voice squeaks. He's not exactly what we call an intimidating person, okay? He just isn't. All right, and then towards the end of the interview, he kept on going on about how my friend Jeremy Boring, you recorded my friend Jeremy Boring, which, by the way, I find kind of weird that Jeremy Boring is saying that he is Steven Crowder's friend, has been friend with him for years, even though he kind of lowballed him in this contract, which we'll talk about here soon. But I don't know how in the hell he just kept on doing the whole, he's my friend, my friend. Ben, buddy, when you were going on about that, my immediate thinking at the time was that your mouth is just a little bit too close to the head. And then it hit me that the shaft was already down your...
Jeff Munson here. You like watching people get fucked for free? Watch me fuck Mark Kerr for free. I'm gonna fuck him. I'm gonna put these hands right around his ass and fuck his ass.
So, yeah, Ben, we can now officially say that you are nothing more than a good old-fashioned brown-noser dude. Which brings me to the contract. Now, guys, there's going to be a lot of clips flying through here, okay? About a good 10 minutes worth of material. Not going to be succinct, not going to be completely in motion. We're going to play the Lauren Chen section because obviously at one time she was approached by the Daily Wire for work. She was approached by Crowder at one point in time for work. But, of course, I narrowed it down just to the section to explain the contract. Now, guys, from the very, very outset, $50 million friggin' dollars, that is a lot of money, okay? You give me that kind of money, you won't see my fat ass any damn more. But what people were often not wanting to say about this entire ordeal was that this was not $50 million that was going to Steven Crowder. No, it was not. It was $50 million going towards him and his overall operating costs, meaning that Steven, we, by the way, would still be getting the bulk of the money. And I personally think under further review that maybe what Crowder should have gotten was a revenue sharing contract instead, maybe with a base salary with some additional incentives. But you're talking about Mug Club. You're talking about all kinds of stuff that Steven is bringing. You're talking about live shows, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, ad buys, all that stuff right there. A lot of freaking money. Like I said before, if you gave me $50 million, you would not see my fat ass again, not for a damn while. Probably ever again. I'm sure I'll pop up somewhere, but you guys know what I'm saying. That's a lot of freaking money that was apparently offered him or was given him on an offer sheet. However, at the end of the day, though, in those contracts, when you have provisions that say that you can be docked 10% for a violation on Spotify, 15% for Apple, 20% on YouTube, it would make me think that in reality, you're not really and truly on my side. You're definitely not on the conservative side. You are definitely not America first, which, by the way, the Daily Wire has proven on multiple occasions that they are not, which we will talk about after the contract issue. But let's just go ahead and roll this first 4-minute segment, and then we'll come back.
Let's do some math. So $12.5 million is what the Daily Wire is offering him for 192 episodes per year. People have calculated that ends up being, and we're going to get into money here because, I mean, we can't avoid it, right? So that equals being around $65,000 per episode that he makes. Steven Crowder, he can get he gets about 1 million views per episode between YouTube and Rumble. Okay, that's a lot of views. Sponsorships, I don't think people appreciate. The people who are saying this is a great deal, I don't think people appreciate how much money Steven could directly be making if he were to take sponsors himself, which he has plenty of relationships with sponsors, okay? It is not uncommon. It would not be hard for him to secure, and I'm lowballing here, $20,000 per ad read, okay? $20,000 per ad read. It's so, and I know this is making Crowder show seem like very, I guess, unrelatable or inaccessible. But look, the man's spent like a decade trying to build this. So let's go through this. Daily Wire easily would want to put 4 ad reads in an hour-long episode. That's not unreasonable, right? So let's say 4 times 20,000, which again is being conservative. If Crowder were to do the ads himself, secure them himself, he could be making $80,000 per episode. Okay, so right off the bat, we see that, yeah, Daily Wire is making a handsome return on ad reads alone from their initial offer. That also brings us to merchandising. Daily Wire is able, through the terms that they presented, to secure all merchandising rights. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but yeah, some YouTubers, they can literally make millions more off of merch. So, when people have been discussing whether this is a good deal for Daily Wire, I feel like they're only talking about the sponsors. They're not even talking about all of the other revenue streams that Daily Wire has very consciously. Okay, so that's one thing. And this also brings us to Mug Club. Okay, now the Blaze, it's kind of confusing. I didn't really understand how the Blaze versus Crowder operated. I still am not 100%, but basically, if you were signing up through Mug Club, your account was basically just a Blaze account that happened to sign up with Steven Crowder's promo club. From what I understand, these email lists were not kept separate. So Steven is in an unfortunate position, admittedly, where he doesn't know how many Mug Club members he has. Okay, we'll get to what he thinks they are. More super chats. Sorry, guys. Like I said, I have so much to say. He was lowballing Steven Crowder around 50% and offering clauses in there that were unnecessary and restrictive. Jeremy's position is still like when I talked to him 6 years ago that, hey, it's just business. You can always negotiate. I'm going to start off by lowballing the hell out of you. That's fine. He can do business that way. But I reject the idea, because it's objectively not true, that this is how everybody does business, because it's not the case. Okay, people are acting as if Steven Crowder has never seen a contract or an offer before. Steven Crowder has been in the business for like 10 years. He's worked for CRTV. He's worked for The Blaze. He's worked for Pajamas Media. He used to work for Fox. Do you think this is a man who has never had to negotiate before? Of course not. But I think he probably agrees, like I do, that at a certain point, people are wasting your time. And, you know, you shouldn't, if you really are friends with someone for 10 years, I would hope that you give them at least initial offer that's relatively good, not a 50% lowball.
Then when you factor in that there are so many provisions in that contract that are saying to you, hey, look, man, you know, if somebody wants to protest you, we have to do the bidding of big tech. We have to kind of like go in there and we have to actually do this. We have to not only do the punishment, which, like I said before, Ben Shapiro was screaming and hollering at Susan Wojcicki earlier because Steven had gotten a strike, even though he'd been like his fourth strike. And obviously Ben Shapiro's little, I shoot her out, I just shoot her. His little spiel obviously doesn't intimidate any damn body, and his ass remained demonetized. You know what? Let's just go ahead and roll the rest of this right here, which came from Robert Barnes and Nick Rakieta. Let's just go ahead and roll this.
With that. And like, that's where Ben Shapiro's response, not only was it like emotional, it was like, Benji, bad contracts, don't care about your feelings, bro. I mean, it was like way over the top.
I didn't even watch his responses because I just read the titles to the videos and I was like, come on, but how Steven Crowder betrayed his friends. It's like, my review of his despicable betrayal.
he called it the most disgusting thing he's ever seen in politics. Where have you been, Benji? The most disgusting thing you've ever seen in politics? Has your head been completely up your ass? I mean, unbelievable. So and then, you know, boring was a little bit like, as we know in this industry, saying, oh, it's just a term sheet, it has no meaning, that's very disingenuous.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of stuff he said in it was like really disingenuous. So I already had suspicions about Daily Wire, more because people thought it was because I was a big critic of Ben Shapiro. That isn't the reason I was skeptical. It's because I knew about how they were founded, who their money people are, and how other people had dealt with them, coming away saying, people that could have helped really make the Daily Wire a true big conservative Hollywood film engine. I mean, the kind of people that had the connections to do that. You're talking about substantial Hollywood people. And they came away saying they don't seem to actually be committed to that. They seem to be committed to just making pet projects and select films with select topics of how they got founded and who was giving them all the money. Certain billionaires that were obsessively anti-Trump and had some spooky connections, let's say. And so I thought they picked Ben Shapiro because Ben Shapiro was kind of a gate, you know, stayed within the Mitt Romney gate Overton window of permissible conservative conversation. And so this contract looked like an attempt to limit Crowder, not an attempt to make money off of Crowder, all about limiting Crowder. And they seemed almost surprised when Crowder just didn't jump at the opportunity to have all these strings attached. If like some people say, well, what would have been a reasonable offer, Robert? Real easy. You do a revenue sharing deal. Crowder does this all the time. I mean, he described it on Tim Pool tonight. He was like, all the time, I'll go when I do a comedy gig, I'll say, don't give me the guarantee. Give me the gate share. Give me a share of what comes in the door. That's it. You guys will make money off the drinks and everything else. Give me the gate. I'm good to go. You don't have to guarantee a penny for me. That's how a lot of artists like him operate, particularly when they're in the sort of entrepreneurial personality like he is. And that's what you do if you're actually wanting a business deal like Daily Wire. You for example, you don't put in a penalty. You say, we'll pay you $65,000 per episode that you produce, right? If you don't produce an episode, you don't have to pay the $65,000, right? But it's that simple. You give them upside. If X number of subscribers come in, you get a certain percentage. If a film does well, you get a certain percentage. If you do a comedy routine, you get a certain percentage. And if you think we're going to get a bunch of subscribers, we're going to get a bunch of sponsors, great, you get the percentage.
You put dollars on the table. You put a basic understanding of the terms, like here's how many shows we think you should do. You know, you get that stuff out there. All of the sort of really mechanical nitty gritty stuff that should come with the contract that Boring said that this wasn't actually that this document wasn't actually being. That should come in later when the lawyers are fighting over stuff on the nitpicky stuff and they go back and forth to try and get stuff kind of hammered out. Well, this is how we do business. And then you go back and forth. Well, 100,000 is way too much for missing a show. How about 50 or whatever? You iron those details out later. To me, it was just very strange to start off with such hostile terms for such a friendly contract.
Absolutely. And what that told me, other people that had contract experience with Daily Wire came away thinking that their motivation wasn't mostly to make money, that it was something else because of their interaction with them. And these were high-end people at the high-end level. This wasn't, your receptionist or anything. They will get irrational if you do things like what Daily Wire did. But once he outed Daily Wire, I was like, once Daily Wire outed itself, I was like, I knew other people that had negotiated with the Daily Wire. The Daily Wire's backstory, a lot of people don't know because a lot of people came to it over the last couple of years. My theory about Daily Wire from the get-go is that a lot of their financial backers care more about being a gatekeeper in conservative space than they even do making money. Because there were a lot of ways to do this contract that would have guaranteed both sides plenty of money. And they blew it up. Daily Wire blew it up from day one.
It's crazy because the way you do this initial offer, first of all, is you don't put any of that penalty shit in there at all on your initial offer. Like that's just crazy to put out there. By the way, you're going to bear all the burden of production. And if anything goes wrong in any way and you miss anything, we're going to penalize you on top of the fact that you're bearing all the costs of production. That shouldn't be in the initial offer sheet. Like as much as Jeremy Boring's like, well, lawyers could come in and redline. And Candace Owens sounded like an absolute insane person to me on Tim Pool. But she's like, my lawyers would just redline that. It's like your lawyers shouldn't have to redline that. That should be terms that come in once you've got that. You get the handshake down on the initial offer. You put dollars on the table. You put a basic understanding of the terms, like here's how many shows we think you should do.
And this deal was not. It was never even like he said, "Oh, Ben Shapiro, well, we're not running a charity here." Nobody's asking you to run a charity. It's simply do a revenue sharing deal. Share the revenue, share the risk. Simple, elemental. Crowder would have jumped all over that.
Now, gang, I can give you a litany. And I mean a litany of examples. And by the way, if you go back to that very first little spiel that Crowder gave, he was talking about certain stories not being reported. Now you know why. Now you understand why. It's not just Mark Dice saying this. It's not just me saying it's also Robert Barnes. Now, guys, let me put something on you really quick because this right here is what I like to call section 4-5. I understand it was 5 sections, but I'm going to just kind of include both of them at the same time because my final thoughts are obviously going to be here because we got to talk a little about tactics too. And we got to kind of go back to the very, very beginning of the video where I said that what the Daily Wire probably should have done, they didn't do. And I'll probably explain to you why it is that they didn't do it because obviously it's in their nature not to do it. And I'll explain that here briefly. But let's go through a litany of examples, okay? Candace Owens, of course. She's still with Kanye West. She got castigated for it. She's still with Kyrie Irving. She got castigated for it. Now, granted, I'm not in favor of what the hell they were doing, but I will protect their right to free speech, okay? I thought the Daily Wire was supposed to be about that. I thought Ben Shapiro, these people were supposed to be all about America. You see, they're not America first. They never really truly have been. They're just a refurbished brand of rhino cons. That's really and truly all the hell they are. Most of us who are actually in the conservative sphere have known this for a very, very long time. We just kind of put up with the Daily Wire because they put out entertaining content, which, by the way, some of which is good. They do very, very good things. However, there's also a big portion of them that, quite frankly, just at the end of the day, kind of works for the establishment, which, by the way, is the uniparty system. I mean, think about it really quick, man. They have still yet to denounce Mitt Romney, of all people. They have yet to denounce Mitt Romney. Ben Shapiro has never, ever, ever denounced him. As a matter of fact, still defends him every chance he gets. Fact of the matter is, these people here are not America first. They're not as they're not as on your side as you might would think. What is a Woman was great, but once again, there are certain topics that they will not touch. You got to hear this on other networks. Jason Whitlock, for example, he's the one who brought this up to Matt Walsh. What is a Woman was a great documentary, but what was the one thing that was the main criticism? And even I came out and criticized Matt Walsh for this. You didn't include the biblical actual language, the actual biblical definition of what a woman actually is. Okay, you did not do that. You got to understand something quick. We're not just fighting a political warfare. We're not just fighting somewhat of a cold civil war. We're fighting a spiritual battle, okay? You cannot defeat the devil without God. You need to have God in order to beat the devil. And just out of curiosity, what are some other examples that, quite frankly, have been brought up? Oh, wait, that's right. Crowder, he received a strike right after his interview with Carrie Lake. Go back to the whole poke thing. Crowder questioned that. Ben Shapiro did not. They pushed it. Okay, they just now recently have came out against it. Okay, they just now recently came out against the whole thing. And I wonder why they're doing that. Well, that right there will serve for a different topic for a different day. But the fact of the matter is that there are a lot of stories that, quite frankly, get covered by other people that the Daily Wire refuses to frickin' touch. And now we know the real reason why, because some topics are not allowed to go mainstream when in reality they should be. Which brings me to the final point before I get to the final thoughts. Okay, I need to go ahead and say this right quick. You see, in that Lauren Chen video that was in this video earlier, which, by the way, I hope she doesn't copyright strike me, because she's just copyright claim me, which I don't think she will. She made a very good point in that video that the two were probably never going to work. As I said before, you already knew that Crowder had 4 separate strikes. You already knew that Crowder had been demonetized. You already knew this stuff. Why the hell are you even bothering to offer him a contract? Because if he comes over, you have to sanitize his content, which, by the way, was one of the main gripes that Crowder had, was that he wouldn't be able to do certain things that, quite frankly, he wanted to do. You see, Crowder, as cringe as his comedy may be, his style does appeal to certain aspects, does appeal to certain portions of the base. For example, me. You guys see this sweater I'm wearing. I'm not bragging about it. I had to buy this J. Crew sweater, which was marked down from $60 down to $25 in Christmas of 2020. I just don't wear it very often. I wear it every now and again. I actually feel kind of comfortable in it. But what do I mostly wear when I do these videos? I'm normally wearing a t-shirt. I'm usually wearing blue jeans. I oftentimes have work boots on or Skechers or something like that there. Okay, my roots for the most part have always been working class, even when I went to college. I am a high school dropout. I dropped out. I joined the Marines. I got my GED. I didn't go to college until later on in life, so I kind of understand both classes. The Daily Wire, on the other hand, appeals to a much older audience, and they appeal to a much more suburban audience, which, by the way, is actually the angle that the Republican Party is trying to go to in the future. The GOP gatekeepers, which, by the way, is an extremely losing strategy, as I've explained on multiple occasions, that going for the suburbs is a bad idea because the suburbs are already gone. If anything, what you need to be doing is you need to be increasing your small town and rural turnout, while at the same time increasing your city turnout, running on stuff like crime, things like that right there, and you'll probably win the next few elections. Daily Wire doesn't want to do that. Crowder's style, of course, appeals more to working class Joes, even though Crowder's comedy is cringe. I'll be the first one to say that. But when it comes to the issues, he comes at it from a much more common man's perspective. Now, maybe the Daily Wire wanted Crowder for that very reason, but the fact of the matter is that the Daily Wire's audience, that is not it. Okay, it's mostly for college educated. And by the way, like I said before, it still bothers me that the Daily Wire even thought to offer him a contract knowing that he had had multiple strikes. It bothers me they even considered this. Now, this right here to me is what's really and truly embarrassing. And by the way, this right here is how you know the arrogance, okay? Crowder does a video. He does a video, says he's upset. He doesn't name drop anybody. He doesn't name drop not one single person, not Shapiro, not Andrew Klavan, not anyone. And like I said, I don't agree with the way he recorded it and the timeline. Yeah, you can make an argument the timeline, the whole ordeal is a little bit sketchy. You can go right ahead and do it, but I don't think that point really matters at this moment in time, because by the time I get through explaining this right to you, you're probably going to see the same way I do on this issue. Daily Wire releases a video. Arrogant as hell. It's truthful, but it's arrogant. We wish Stephen all the luck in the world, but he's not a businessman, yada, 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 yada. Just pure flat out. In that response, they just kept on making it about money. Money, 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 money. Crowder, what does he do? He sits back. He probably thinks to himself, wow, they outed themselves a lot faster than I thought they would. So what happens next? Shapiro goes out there, he gets personal. Candace Owens goes out there, she gets super personal. Candace Owens goes on Timcast IRL, what does she do? Gets extremely personal. Okay, Crowder kind of sort of probably knew that it was coming. Remember, he released the second video. He released it later on that night, and he made it a point to say towards the end of the video that he held no personal grudges. He didn't really name drop anybody except Jordan Peterson, Andrew Klavan, and Ben Shapiro, and he was complimentary to them. So obviously, he must have been prepared for whatever backlash was coming, and he knew the first rule. The minute you go personal is the minute that you lose. And one more thing, too. Before we get to these final topics, do you expect somebody like Steven Crowder, even though he's got more subscribers than them, to come at them head on? Do you expect him to do that? Apparently, these people negotiated for over 2 months, and Crowder did not officially put up the website until December the 12th. Now, that right there is about 2 months, dating all the way back to the very 1st of October. It took him 2 months to come up with this website. Are you sure that there wasn't a lot of contract passing around? Are you sure there was not a lot of that right there, a lot of talk, a lot of negotiation stuff before Crowder finally figured out and said to himself, These people right here really and truly do work for big tech. They're not going to fix anything in the contract. They're not going to pay me anything. And they're also going to then turn right back around and put these provisions in the contract, basically telling me that if I screw up, they will not have my back at any point in time. Yeah, they're saying that they're going to allow me to recoup the money, but then when you actually look at the money that's being recouped or whatever, you come to find out you're practically not making anything, and that they're kind of bending you over in the process. I think that what Crowder did was he basically Ghost Martin these people and basically went full guerrilla war. He got them to screw up. He got them to take advantage. He took advantage of their own arrogance, which, by the way, does not surprise me looking back at the fact that these are all college educated, smelling their own farts and whatnot. Look, let me go ahead and say this right now. Ben Shapiro is no working class Joe. He never has been. I mean, dude, the guy has got a video of him when he was 9 years old playing Schindler's List. Okay? Matt Walsh, he's not no working Joe. Neither is Michael Knowles. Neither is Andrew Clavin. Hollywood his entire life. Candace Owens from Connecticut. Connecticut's pretty much a suburban place. She's had people get on her about that too. Jordan Peterson, educational field. I mean, I'm just saying that sometimes because you have a college degree, sometimes because you're college educated, that doesn't always make you smart. And Stephen clearly took advantage of their weakness, which, by the way, was their arrogance. Now, guys, here's where I'm going to end the video at. All right, and this is going to do some final thoughts, okay? Because you got a lot of people out there who are unsubscribing from YouTube channels over this last thing. Now, guys, you know me. If you want to leave a comment in the comment section, go right ahead and do it. I'll banter with you, but I'll be the first one to admit that I have had a habit in the past of getting into it with people who comment in the comment section. I'm not going to do that anymore. I haven't done that for a while. I've actually had to work on that. What I finally accepted was, look, you're in the YouTube world, and everything that you say can or will be used against you. It's your take. It is what it is. However, I'm not talking about me on this one right here. Let me explain something to you guys really quick. You can agree with somebody 99% of the time and still dislike them. I mentioned Ben Shapiro earlier. Okay, I agree with the vast majority of his political takes, but I don't really and truly, which you guys already know, I don't really like him. Let me give you some other examples. However, you can disagree with somebody's take and still like them, still be subscribed to them, still listen to them. Let me explain my point. I mentioned Mark Dice earlier. Mark Dice brought out a lot of information, but past couple of days, Mark Dice has said some things that, quite frankly, I thought were blatantly wrong. That doesn't mean I'm going to unsubscribe from his YouTube channel. That doesn't mean that I'm done with him. No, doesn't mean that at all. If anything, I mean, I like his insight, even though I don't agree with it. Of course, I'm going to stay subscribed to him. Sean Fitzgerald, actual justice warrior, makes a lot of very, very good points. Damn near every video he makes is good. However, I've not liked his Crowder take because I think he's 100% wrong on it. However, that does not mean, though, that I'm going to unsubscribe from Sean Fitzgerald's channel. It does not mean that at all. It doesn't mean I'm going to hit the dislike button on every one of his videos. As a matter of fact, his video on it today, I actually went in there and commented and said, dude, I disagree with you 100%. By the way, I don't know these people personally, but I said, look, dude, I disagree with you 100%. But I'm not going to unsubscribe from your channel. I'm not going to hit the dislike button every time you post a video. I'm not like that. The Officer Brandon Tatum. And the Officer Brandon Tatum has gotten, I mean, I've grown less and less accustomed to listening to him. However, he still does have some takes that, quite frankly, I agree with. And even though he came out and he did the whole simpery thing for Candace, a lot like ABL did, I'm not going to unsubscribe from him because I disagree with him on this. I mean, as a matter of fact, I kind of expected it. I kind of expected him to come out and simp for her. Blindly. I mean, that's kind of sort of what these people do. I mean, go back and look at his reaction to the whole Nicole Arbor thing. You don't even get me started on her either. Not exactly a fan of hers either. Fact of the matter is that you can disagree with somebody and you can still like their content and you can still subscribe to their content. You can still hit the like button. You ain't got to hit the dislike button to somebody who you disagree with. Now, you guys can do what the hell you want to when it comes to mine. If you want to hit the dislike button, go right ahead and do it. I prefer you guys obviously hit the like button. If you disagree with something, leave it in the comment section. It's how I feel, and we can talk about it there. And I can promise you I did the best I can not to be unprofessional, as long as you're not being unprofessional. And, of course, if the conversation gets to the point where you can't go any further with you, if you reach like an impasse, then obviously I'm probably going to leave it blank and let you say what the hell you guys say. Fact of the matter is that you cannot like somebody's take and still stay subscribed to their channel and still at the same time also hit the like button on their channel. This entire issue right here is making some people tribal. Just want to go ahead and throw it out there. You can like both content creators and just disagree with them on this issue. Guys, John Claymore here. If you like the content, hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign up in the comment section. If you disagree, leave a comment in the comment section. I promise I won't get too far out of hand as long as you don't either. And I'll see you guys later.